Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, and in this video I'm gonna bring you up to date on my 3000 GT vr4 build. This car is intended purposes daily driver, mild build, and just bring the car back from the dead pretty much, because this car was abandoned in a redwood forest. So one of the previous videos I mentioned that people sometimes ask me what's it gonna take to make this car run again, and it's a really hard question to answer. And to give you an idea, this is my car. I'm the one that is working on it, and not giving this car to a shop and waiting for them to work on it. And now we are about a year and a half into this resurrection of this car, and I have worked on it almost every weekend, especially in the beginning. I have kind of postponed some things, and the last couple of months there were some other things that needed to happen first before I can continue working on this car. So yeah, just wanted to give you a perspective, and this car is an example what and how long time it takes to revive a car after it's been sitting for many years. So let's get right to it. I'm gonna start with finishing installation on the Perrin's dual gauge pod. I made a short video to give you guys some tips on how and where to mount the gauge pod so it looks clean. So we're gonna finish that today, and I'm just gonna install it, so you'll see what it takes to put this back together. Here is the instrument cluster bezel with the gauge pod installed already in it. Here, so whatever marker you decide to use, I used a red permanent red paint marker, and be careful what you're using to mark where you're gonna drill the holes, because whatever solvent you're gonna have to use afterwards to clean it so you don't damage the plastic. Some kind of a water-based marker is preferable, and pretty clean installation. This took roughly about 3 hours, believe it or not, in order to make this fit perfect, line up perfect, drill these holes, and coming in and out of the car several times before I'm finally happy with it. But that is what it takes to make something like this perfect, and it's worth every bit of time spending on this, because you're gonna be looking at that all the time. It's right in your face. Here's the cutouts that I made on the back of the bezel for the wiring harness, and a little bit on the drill bits that I used here. This type of drill bit is not preferable, because when this type of drill bit goes through the plastic and it kind of catches, and you might break and cause gouges, or move the drill aside and you can scratch the bezel. So it's preferable to use this type of drills. And then on air files of this kind, I even used this cone shaped thing. This is to make recess in different materials for in order to achieve flush mounted screws. This here is a rivet that I just wrapped some sandpaper around, so I can fine sand these openings here that I made for the wiring harness to to go through. So I decided to install this on the camera just so I can show you guys. Now one problem arises here once we install this in place. It's gonna be a little more difficult to clean the instrument cluster. However, it's not gonna be something that hard to do. It's just those gauges are gonna block some of the access. Let's see. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna put the steering wheel all the way down as far as possible, and then the wiring harness is routed from this hole. It comes from behind the dash, from this hole, and goes under the cluster, and then these two wires are going to be pinched like so. So here is, maybe it's a little more room for the wiring harness to be a little further out, but I want it to be close to the mount so it kind of blends in with the mount, not just sticks out down here. Anyhow, it still fits pretty good. So these cutouts are kind of aimed right where this edge is and straight down. Same thing I did on this side. And this side is going to have a boost gauge. So the boost gauge only requires one wiring harness, to where the air-fuel ratio gauge requires two cutouts for two harnesses that go through it. I see many people depend the power wire for air-fuel ratio gauge. Yes, I'm not gonna use most of the wiring harness. Technically, you just need power and ground in order to run that gauge, and the wiring harness for the oxygen sensor. However, should you decide one day to run the rest of the wires, then you have to go through the hassle of removing everything and run the other wires. So I rather do it like this time and be done. Should I choose to run the other wires for data logging and whatnot, they are there and ready to go. So this is how this slides here on the side, and then the top end goes in first. As you can see, it just falls right in place. And at this point, I'm going to connect both switches. Oh, okay, that switch works. Okay, so both stock switches are connected, and now I'm gonna guide the wiring harness in here and into these two slots that I made for it to fit. So that's it. We're going to bring the steering wheel back up. And it's time to put the gauge on. leave yourself enough wiring harness, so if you have to remove this in the future, you can remove the wiring harness out from the gauge first before you start pulling the instrument cluster bezel off. And I'm gonna put this piece around the gauge. Run up the gauge to keep even. And push it all the way in. So yeah, that's it. That's very much what it takes. I'm gonna take the camera out so I can show you guys. And here's how everything looks from driver point of view. You can see the other gauge is going to line up just in the middle of the speedo. So that just started, and that will give you guys a glimpse of how the exhaust sounds. You also installed the Tanabe exhaust. Talk about the exhaust, and in just a second I just want to show you guys how everything looks. There it is. Very nice look to it. Filling up the garage with exhaust, so let's cut that out. And yeah, that's about everything you need to know for the gauge installation, gauge pod installation from Perrin. And let's move on to what was happening for the last few months with this car. The first thing that I did here since the last video is I prepared the roof and this A-pillar pieces and painted them with what it's called hot rod black satin paint. And this is the Spraymax Company 2K. This is a 2K paint. This is for you do-it-yourself guys. I did not want to paint this car originally, but as the car starts looking better and better, and things starting to come along, I decided I'm going to repaint the rest of the car in the original color probably next summer. But just to seal the top because all the clear coat was gone, and it was left just on the paint coat. So every time I was washing the car, and paint just kept washing off of it. So anyway, this is pretty good result for a spray can, and this is a two-part paint that has hardener in it, so it's a proper automotive paint in a spray can. It's not just one part 1K paint. So this will stay there. It will not fade, peel, or anything. Of course, I could not achieve super professional result. As you can see, it's got a little bit of a grain to it, just because the spray paint, the can doesn't have the pressure like a professional spray paint gun will, and you cannot lay the paint heavy like a professional a paint gun will. I also updated here to a 99 cell panels, and now that we are onto the cell panels, I would like to talk a little bit about water leaks, and that leads me actually to the trunk. I decided to go here with the stealth spoiler, and basically the whole trunk is from a Dodge Stealth. I removed everything that it's active suspension, activator is completely gone from this car. This car had way too much electronics for 91, so I like the look of the stealth spoiler. This trunk is not going to be black, it's just painted because this was a white car, and it was just going to look weird, so everything is painted with that same black spray paint. So let's talk about water leaks a little bit, and then we're gonna continue. So whenever you remove the cell panels, these are points of my car is a coupe, so obviously no sunroof or target or anything of this kind. So the leak points here is all the studs that go through the body and secure the sail panel in place. There's these rubber washers that deteriorate over time, and actually when those deteriorate, the nuts back off of the stud and there's nothing to hold the sail panel. So this allows water to come through that point. And the other place for water leaking, these are the bolts that are securing the spoiler in place, and since the spoiler sits in the lowest point on the trunk, that is a potential water leak. And also right here you can see where the trim, the bottom trim on the hatchback glass, this trim has these clips that go through, and what you saw underneath is where what those clips attach to. So that is also a big water leak place. And as you can see, it's rather low point here, and water and dirt and grime also collects here behind this trim and just cause water to stay there. So whenever you remove these things, use like a tar strip, or I choose to use tar strip. You can use a silicone of any kind to seal those places, but I choose to use tar strip because it can be easily disassembled and it seals those leak points properly. So I think trunk is the major problem with this car, with the water leaks. Now the other tedious water leak problem, it doesn't leak inside the car. However, here, this plastic is crucial. I had to remake this because mine was missing on the one door, and then on the other door was half torn. So I made this myself. I put the tar strip here to hold it in place, and as you can see, this has drain holes here and here. So should some water get between the belt molding on the outside and the window and find its way here in this plastic, it will just leak out through here. And the tedious spot is this speaker. So behind this speaker, it's a sponge tape that is supposed to prevent any water from coming down on this side of the speaker, because here on this side we have the door panel. And what was happening here, every time I wash the car, I see water coming out from behind the door panel. So this sponge here has failed. I don't know if you can see where water was coming down from this point. So I need to replace this sponge tape, and also these holes. I'm gonna put some of that tar strip just to seal them in case. Usually water goes around the back of the housing and just leaks inside the door and just leaks out from the drains that are on the bottom of the door. So this is something that you should definitely reseal here and make sure that this is all sealed. I'm actually gonna put some tape also over this plastic, just to make sure water is not constantly leaking inside the door panel, because door panels are not cheap and you can't really find decent ones anymore. I barely found a couple of door panels, and they actually have a problem. They look pretty good right now, but when the sun hits them, everything, the vinyl expands. Actually, you can see how here is the vinyl is detached from the door panel. So the vinyl expands and bubbles up, and here also. However, they're just gonna stay the way they are. They're not baked or torn or anything. They're just a little bit unglued. It's not time for me to deal with them just yet. So the other thing I did here is I tinted all the windows with 35%. I didn't want it to go too dark so I can see through the windows in the night. And headliner. Here's a headliner. I used sway fabric. It's a fox sway. It's a fabric and reupholstered this in gray. And then I did this design. I used fabric paints, different spray paints and markers to make this. It turned out pretty nice. And the next thing that I did is updated the brakes from first generation VR4 brakes. Now we have second generation VR4 brakes with drilled and slotted rollers. And my calipers actually came from Stilt, and this is why they don't have Mitsubishi writings on them, which I like, because in my opinion this car had too many badges. I'm still gonna install here. I'm still gonna install Mitsubishi emblem somewhere here. I just haven't quite figured out what I'm gonna do. And after the brakes, as you can see, we have different wheels. This is what it used to be there before. I just got these locally from a kid that had these extra, and he was selling them on a rather decent price. They just have some scuffing around these edges, around the lip. So these wheels fit perfect and look really nice on the car. I am planning to paint the calipers black, flat black, and then this hubcap probably is going to be flat black with a Mitsubishi emblem to kind of tie up the wheels with the rest of the car. And these wheels are 18 by 9. I'm still using the stock size 245 40 by 18. Just this wheel is 18 by 8.5, so this wheel causes the tire to stretch a little more. It just makes the tire a little bit wider. So these are 35 offset and 72.6, the same hub diameter like these wheels. So I didn't have to buy any spacers. The new wheel just fit right onto the, I'm sorry, not spacers, but the centering rings. No spacers required. As you can see, these things clear the caliper by a mile. And actually, when I installed the second gen front calipers, these wheels no longer needed spacers in order to fit this car. So if you have second gen 3000 GT vr4, these wheels will fit without any spacers on your car. So yeah, I'm pretty happy the way things are coming, and the car is now to the point where I'm driving it every other week to work and back. It's about 20 miles a day, and it's a lot of fun. It's starting to be really enjoyable instead of worrying that something is gonna break. So here's the exhaust. This is the other thing I did. I went with with a Tanabe exhaust, and the little rounded, not round, ellipse type mufflers. They have two exhausts that they offer for this car, and one is with the round mufflers, and this one has a little more muffler and a resonator and on the straight piece in the middle. So a little more lower tone, not so raspy tone. Still has a little high pitch to it, but it's how I like it, and I think it sounds amazing. And I just didn't want to make it too loud, too obnoxious to where I'm not going to enjoy it. And I also have something that I can't show you right now. I have a JDM pipe. It's not stainless steel downpipe. However, it's a really nice downpipe where front and rear turbos connect with Y pipe, not just a T, the way the stock system is. And the middle cat, the big cat under the car, is also removed, and there's a test pipe placed instead of it. So the car sounds absolutely amazing. Very big difference, and the way the car pulls off the line after I removed the cat. I think it was plugged. So I think that's about it. Again, to show you, this paint is Spray Max, and then they also make clear coat. This is very good product for a do-it-yourself guy. Also, what I wanted to say is like this paint is very nice for places like this, like to repaint your wiper arms or this cowl here. I also repainted this trim. This trim still retained its covering because it lived most of its life under the stealth spoiler versus the 3000 GT cars. The spoilers back here is nothing to protect it from the sun. As you can see, it started shrinking here on the edge, but it was not too bad. So yeah, there is actually the rubber kind of wrapping that goes around this trim comes all the way up to here, which of course now it's gone. However, this is no longer available, and if you find this trim, it's most likely not going to look good. And if it looks good, it's probably baked, and by the time they ship it to you, it's going to be bent, because these things are really never they're not so rigid, and people don't really wrap them and pack them well, and most of the time come in damaged. I also got these other belt moldings. I got them from eBay seller. They came damaged like that, so they were cheaper rather than buying them new. They're both damaged, but they're much better than what was there before. So this is what's gonna be here for now. Here, this is the other one is damaged. So yeah, I think that about wraps it up for this video. Leave the camera here. So that's it, guys. For those of you who are following this build, thanks for watching. The videos are not getting a lot of hits. There's quite a bit of information and quite a bit of people posting information about these cars. So I am trying to include something that is not already there. I personally have not seen another car with SSR wheels. I also saw these wheels are for sale at 3SX website for our cars, and for whatever reason they come with these are 35 offsets, and 3SX sells them. The 9-inch wide one is 45 offset, so that will push the wheel further in. And something I missed to say is that in the front we are about a finger about a finger thickness space between the tire and the strut. So pushing the wheel even more in, that will eat all that space. I think it will fit because basically it's 10 millimeter difference that will push 10 millimeter the wheel further in. However, they sold them for our cars, and I guess they made sure they fit. 35 does not stick out too far out, so it doesn't look like the wheel doesn't belong to the car. So anyway, I'm really happy with the result. I'm really happy with the way everything looks, and this is kind of a final look to it. I'm not going to replace wheels. Exhaust is final. There's not much more to do there. So yeah, thanks for watching, and leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye now.